Hello, hello. I apologize for running late. Of course, my Zoom suddenly needed updates, and I was trying to get in on my phone and it just wasn't working. So I'm going to wait just a few more moments. Um, make sure everybody finds us okay, and hopefully I didn't give up on everything. Okay, so we are here today talking a little bit about, well, a lot of things. Talking about Lotus Academy. I'm very excited and proud of it. So let's just dive in. So I decided to do Lotus Academy, um, and the symbol of Lotus is enlightenment. And the words in enlightenment, wake up, do shadow work, all of these things. What they're kind of talking about is bringing awareness to ignorance or areas that you've kind of been on autopilot about. And I've spent years doing research and learning different tools and trying to compile them into something that works for me. And I wanted to share that. And so that's what Lotus Academy is 14 modules, 14 tools that you get to play around with and you get to play with, and have them work for you and start to notice areas of things that you want to change and how to change that and bring happiness and joy into your life, more effortlessly, right? And just appreciate where you're at right now, and um, without having to change too much in the external. It's all about just recognizing the joy. So we're going to talk for, we're together for 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll go from there. So why do we need tools like this? Why do we need to wake up and become enlightened? Well, one of the big things that I'm seeing in my practice and with friends and family and in my personal life is this disconnection that we have from each other, and just in this lack of intimacy that we're all kind of craving. I know I was craving it. I didn't realize that that's what it was, back when I started looking at all of these things and doing research and reading books and yada yada. But we in this society are generally told, like, you are better than the earth, so don't, you can worry about it, but don't, you're not really connected to it. We have this kind of almost a superiority to nature. Not all of us, this isn't a blanket statement, but so we're pretty disconnected, a lot of us, from earth. And then you grow up, like I did, Catholic, in the religious sect, and you're not God. Don't think you're God. There's, always seeking his approval. And so there's a disconnect from that too. There's not a deep intimacy for a lot of us with that area. And then we spend most of our time in front of screens. It probably has gotten a little worse with COVID, but we come home and we sit in front of a TV, or we go straight to work and or home from work, and we're continuing work on a computer. We're on our phones searching and scrolling, and so there's a disconnect with each other in that area. And then what I'm finding a lot of people's complaints is that, from here down doesn't listen. So we're disconnected from even ourselves. And that's disheartening. And a lot of people feel lost. We feel anxious and depressed and sad, and in a perpetual cycle of suffering. And so a lot of stuff can be potentially reversed or changed through having a more deep, intimate connection. And that starts, really with yourself. And when you can connect with yourself and you like who you are in your mind, you understand your emotions, you understand these sensations, and you look at all the trauma, all the mistakes, all the flaws of yourself as gifts of exploration, and you go into them with compassion. That's what alchemy is. So when you hear the word alchemy, and you'll see that on my stuff and my site and things like that, is alchemy is turning lead into gold. And that's why the lotus is a perfect representation of enlightenment, of bringing awareness into of areas of ignorance, because then you can change it, because no mud, no lotus, no lead, no gold, no trauma, no crap, no suffering, no self-growth. And so you have to look at all of these areas of yourself with eyes that are seeking the gifts and the messages and the insights, so that you can learn how to love that. So there's no shame, blame, or pain that's brought into this. Those are things to explore. And our thoughts are just things that come into our minds. And so you can talk back to them. You can talk about, okay, some negative thought comes in. You're not good enough. Why are you trying this? Yada, yada. I view all of that as self-preservation and self-love and self-protection on a really kind of messed up scale, but it's taking your life of a pain, and your body doesn't want you to repeat that, right? So it's protection. It's like, oh, well, don't go there because last time it hurt us. And so we have to start recognizing and bringing awareness to those things, so that we can, nope, I'm good, I'm safe. Like, I really want to do this, and I'm going to push through that barrier. So we really need to start looking and changing the narrative of our shit. It's all gifts. It's all chances of exploration. Um, when I started this, I was really anxious. I was a people pleaser. I didn't have a voice. I was just miserable. I remember being in even junior high for no apparent reason. I had no like conscious awareness of what was going on. I just felt so uncomfortable in my body. I used to go to the nurse's office, and they put the thermometer in, and I'd hold my breath, and I would raise the temperature just a little bit. I mean, it's not going to raise it too much, but just enough where the nurse, I would hear her call my mom, go, well, it's really low fever, but it's, she doesn't feel good. And my mom would have to come get me and bring me home. And I was just so anxious and so uncomfortable that I felt like everything that came out of my mouth, everything that I did, everything that I wore, like, was just wrong, and people were judging me. And I felt like that for a long time. And I just got sick of it. And I was like, I'd meet women and like these role models, these women who were confident and is laughing easily, and just you could just feel that they felt good in themselves. And I was like, I want that. And I remember my mom had friends like that I looked up to as a kid, that I thought were so cool. And then I met some in my adult life, and I remember losing my best friend who was that way. She was just this beautiful, vibrant, confident, loud person. And after she passed away, I was like, I don't want to live like this anymore. And so I started seeking and reading, and what is this? And can it be changed? And that's another reason why I wrote my book, Mending the Sacred Self, is this repeatable? Are these incidences of just being born that way, or can you change that? And can you manipulate that to align yourself with the version of yourself that you want to be? And so I wrote my book, which is based on the neuroscience behind a lot of esoteric practices. And then the Lotus Academy is more practical tools that you get to do on your own, and that you get to play with. And some of them you may keep, and some of them you may toss out, and they're like, that doesn't work for me as well. But it's condensing a lot of the stuff and the tools and the philosophies and all of the things into an area where it's condensed, and there you go, you get it. And part of that, was is like, I believe that life should be joyful and almost an erotic experience. And why shouldn't it be? If we're here only one time, why shouldn't it be like this pleasurable experience? Um, there's different ways to find enlightenment, but none of them seemed appealing to me. So this is kind of a fourth way concept. I'm not fluent with that, but you guys can look that up on your own. But there's the yogic way where they they want the emotions and they want the body experience, but the brain is thoughts are just too much noise, and you work to turn off that noise. And then there's there's oh, I can't remember the name of it, but there's like, where you sleep on a bed of nails, or you hold your arm up in the air for like your whole life, and because the body is not important, but your mind and your emotions are. And then they get enlightened that way. And these people do get enlightened, but at the cost of losing a piece of themselves and a piece of their humanity. And it wasn't something that seemed appealing to me. And then, there's the monks meditating, and the emotions aren't important to them, but the body and the brain are. And none of it really fit and jived with me. I read about I read all these texts and listened to all these lectures and heard all these stories of these people and how they did it. And I was like, well, it just didn't feel right for me. So this is more kind of a combo of all of them. But the pleasure piece really stood out to me. Like I've always, you know, been more of a deeply romantic, poetic person. And so why not have an erotic life? Something that, like, does your body wake up when you think about your life? Like, yeah, you have gratitude, but do you feel it in your body? Does your body light up? Are you like, yes, I'm so deeply in love with myself and in my life. I'm so in love with all aspects of my life, even the crap, even the shit that I go through has molded me into who I am. And I'm grateful for those experiences. And I'm grateful for the chance to be angry, because then I get to self-explore. And anger is what I'm working on right now. So that was my key there. There's a really great poem by Gina Piero, I think how you pronounce her last name. It's her death poem. And it spoke to me on such a deep level, because it's about meeting death, right? And I'm going to very shortly paraphrase this beautiful poem. Hopefully I don't chop it up too bad, but so she talks about death came for me. And so I put on my little black dress and he took me out, and he had raw steak and I had dessert and wine. And he leaned in and he said, "Did you enjoy your life, my love?" And she sits back and I think she says, and I thought about how, did I love deep enough? Did I let my sufferings carve me into gratitude? Did I, all of these beautiful things. So are you able to see the beauty more fully because of the life that you've lived? It might not have been perfect, right? And if you're joyful and blissful all the time, I mean, if you knew what was going to happen because everything was just wonderful and beautiful, like it's kind of boring, right? And that falls into a lot of the philosophies like Alan Watts talks about, or the universal three, right? The law of three. God was split himself into three. So God, the Holy Spirit, the Son. And then in Hinduism, it's Shiva, Brahma, and I'm going to blank the last one. But anyway, it's the active, the creative, the destruction, and the passive. And so if you look even at what people watch on TV, or, some people are very addicted to drama, but a lot of us just watch it on TV because, like, Game of Thrones. I mean, I haven't watched TV so that really dates me, but that was a really popular show, and you watch it and you're like, oh my God, this is like really messed up. It's really messed up. Why is this so popular? But we need a little bit of drama. We need a little bit of spice. And so if you're bored or if you're blissful all the time, there's the argument of boredom. If you're suffering all the time, on the flip side of that, you don't want that either. You don't want to be miserable. You want that pleasure, that joy. Don't want to spend your life sleeping on a bed of nails. You don't want to be turned off from, the magic of learning. That's what turns me on. That's what gets me going and lights up my life, is books and lectures and teaching. So, when you're looking at creating a life of pleasure and just something that really literally somatically, gets you going, what is that? And that's different for everybody. But that's magic. What is magic? That's another term that's used a lot. What is magic? Well, magic is putting an abnormal amount of attention or focus onto something and getting change and getting results and changing that thing, right? So if you're changing your intellect, if you're changing your body, if you're working on emotional intelligence, if you're seeking and looking every day for joy, that's magic once you start to find it. And that's a rabbit hole to go down, right? Going down a rabbit hole of pleasure in life in all aspects is one that I think is pretty amazing. Mary Oliver always says, her quote was, attention is the, excuse me, the first step in devotion. So for me, I think that it's really important to give devotion to yourself, because how does that ripple out to your family, your tribe, your community, the world? Like, if you are somebody that is joyful and laughs and people want to be around you, and you can move through grief and guilt, mom guilt, right? You can move through these things with grace and easily, because they're um they're just part of life, and their chances of gifts, like, that teaches other people around you how to do that, and you start creating a much wider ripple of joy and beauty. So, well, I want to give you guys some homework to do. And this is one that I've been working on. It's not in the program, but it is really fun to do, I think. And it is listing out your flaws, your mistakes. Yeah, listing out your flaws and your mistakes, and really starting to look at them as gifts. And how can you flip that positive, right? So if, like for me, like I had mentioned, I have worked a lot through anxiety, and now I'm working through anger. My focus has been shifted to anger. So it's not something I'm comfortable with. I really don't like it. So is it considered a flaw? For me, yeah. Okay, so how do I change that into a gift and something beautiful? Well, it helps me with creative communication, because my boundaries are not being respected, or my expectations aren't being met, or I'm just not getting through to my child. Like, I get to have the gift of creativity move in. And also it's a anger. What I've learned with me is it shows up when I'm not in alignment, when I'm not going with flow, and I'm trying to push things and they don't really need to be pushed, or they're not going to. If you look back over your life and you've really been pushing and trying to open a door and it just won't budge, and it's just, you really just really want this thing, this person, this whatever, to see you, and you want it, and that door is just not budging, and you finally give up and you're like, and you turn like 90 degrees and there is the thing, the person, the something that you didn't know that you wanted, and it's 100% right in line with you, right? So those, again, that barrier, it's frustrating, it's suffering, it's painful, but it's a gift. And so with my anger, what I've learned is my flaw is actually a gift of pushing me back into alignment, because I don't like it. I don't like it. I shut down, I mope, I turn into like lunar energy, right? I vibrate differently. And when you're in a bad mood, you can't move. You sit there and that's all you can think about, and it consumes, right? And another, I'm going to show you another example of how this shifts to a gift is, I don't want to be left alone. If I'm upset, you better come over here and fix this problem. Don't give me space. I don't want space because I don't like it. I don't like this feeling and I don't want to sit in it any longer than I have to. But anger is a righteous emotion and I feel justified of being angry. So I want you to come fix this with me or for me. And every person, every partner I've had gives me space, and it just, oh, it just eats. And what I'm starting to realize, because now my focus is on this unwanted, uncomfortable emotion, is that, oh yeah, okay, so if I have space, then that one thing that's ticking me off, it actually is coming from a lot of layers of my life, and it's something deeper than that one thing, right? And so then when I finally come together with whoever that's ticking me off, then I have a deeper understanding. And it's not 90% of the time, it's not someone else's problem, it's mine. It's because of me. So, yeah. So once I start to recognize that, I can go, okay, fine. And you just, all right, I guess I'll sit in it. And you're opening yourself up to all the insights and all of these traumas and these layers of things that have happened to you. So that's your homework for the next, I would say, well, forever, but if you want to, for the next few days, the next week, look at your flaws, things that you don't like about yourself or things that you think are flaws. Like, I've just given you a bunch of examples. I'm not going to keep going with that, but you guys get the point. And then look at how those are actually gifts. Okay. All the mistakes you've made, all the people you've been with that were just like, oh God, I can't believe I did that. Like those kinds of things, they're actually gifts. They pushed you to becoming who you are. And if you're here, then you're likely wanting to continue that growth. And so do it. Like dive into that uncomfortable. The stuff that you don't want to face is the stuff you really need to just head into and just head first. Let's go. Right? Okay. So that's kind of all I have. I know that things got switched around in the beginning there. So do you have any questions for me? You can put them in the chat and we can see what pops up. Okay, not too much. So I'm going to take that as hopefully I made sense. So yeah, so check out Lotus Academy. Right now it is $129, $70 off. So that will be going on till probably June, so a couple more days. And it's lifetime access, and you can really go as fast or as slow as you want through it. I'll really start to get some of these tools built up. And share with me, share in the tribe, and let me know, DM me, message me, let me know how things are going for you.